Has your memory ever let you down? Have you ever struggled with learning? Then you're at the right place. My name is Petros Geroulanos, and I will be your guide. I would like to thank you for your curiosity and interest, and I'm sure that you will benefit in more than one way. This is the beginning of a journey into experimental learning. Do you want to get the most from listening to this? Then follow the exercise I will be offering later on. It will be my job to guide you safely to getting the excellent results you deserve. These tips and tricks have been tens of thousands of people. They have attended my live seminars from all over the world, the Far East to the Midwest, the northern parts of Europe to the most southern tip of Africa, speak many different languages and have come from all walks of life. Business owners of multinational companies, CEOs of large financial corporations and their executives, government representatives, teachers and students. As we may be spending some time together, and if it is okay with you, I would like to share with you what made me be here with you today. I grew up in Switzerland where I finished a good student, and I was fortunate enough to getting all the tutoring you can get. From age 11, I was spending my time outside of school, repeating math exercises, writing essays, and trying to understand science. Sitting there trying to memorize vocabulary in foreign languages. Have you ever, instead of having fun with your friends? You know what I mean. Then I got accepted to the best business school in the German-speaking world. This was not an achievement, as anybody with a Swiss high school degree must be accepted by law. Naturally, the business school was very popular and overcrowded. The campus had 5 times more students than it could accommodate. The dean invited us on the first day to a welcome speech. He thanked us for showing up and informed us that in 5 years' time, only 20% of us will actually be graduating here. If we don't choose to leave by our own free choice before that time, ensure that we leave. This means he proudly introduced the notion of exams. 10 exams must be passed, covering the topics of the first 2 years. Nobody was surprised. He then laid out the revised rules. If anybody fails one of these exams 3 times, you must leave the school. You can restart your studies from scratch elsewhere in Switzerland without any credits. However, if you leave before you fail, you get full credit for any courses you attended and any exams already passed. Even more difficult, only up to 30% of the students get to pass at each of the exams. So only the top 30% would make it. Still, I was excited. I loved the topics and programs and was already starting my first small business applying what I was learning. So I started studying hard like everybody else and immediately managed to fail 9 out of 10 exams. The only one I passed was German as a foreign language. Given that all my schooling had been in German, that was a bit of a cheat. And when I started retaking the exams and failing them again, the pressure increased. I was by my friends and family for not studying hard enough. I had a lot of self-doubt and asked myself many questions. Was I not interested in the subject matter? Oh yes, I was. I wanted to build my own commercial business and wanted to learn how to do it. I loved management. I loved the case studies. But during the exam, I could not remember the 10 points on page 57 in book number 7. Was I not studying hard enough? I may have not been in class at 8 a.m., but I was there from 10 a.m. onwards until the library closed. I only had 7 days of real holidays each year for the first 2 years. For the rest of the time, I was studying. Maybe I was wondering, was I just outright stupid? Then changing university would not change much. So I started having serious self-doubts. Then a strange coincidence happened. I met a gentleman. His name is Tony Buzan. I had no idea who he was, except that he was a lecturer and workshop at the university for 3 days. We bumped into each other 13 times during that time. He asked me for directions, he needed assistance, and when his driver didn't appear to take him to another town, I offered to take him. Before we knew it, we were driving in the car together for 90 minutes. Soon enough, He asked me about to divert the topic, and sure enough, he reverted back. I then broke the news to him. I cannot memorize the abundance of information I'm confronted with, from books, videos, lectures, presentations, or the news I had to read. I could not recall all that information during the exam, especially not in a structured manner. And I'm using all my time studying and not having real fun. I was also not able just to learn things off by heart. He then explained who he was. A memory trainer in charge of the Memory Olympics, a trainer in speed reading, and the inventor of a note-making technique called MindManagementCircle. I had seen that a few times before, but not really understood what that was about. He had published many books on the topic and featured regularly in shows on the BBC in the UK. At the end of the ride, as a thank you, I was allowed to attend a 5-day program on memory training, speed reading and mind mapping. After completing that program, I then decided to put the skills into practice. And a few months later, I passed all my exams with best grades, eventually completing my studies with the best grade of my class. But then my fellow students started asking me strange and inappropriate questions. Which professor did I bribe? Which assistant did I seduce? They did see that my note-making was strange, but they could not understand that this turnaround was on my own merit, that techniques exist to assist in dealing with the abundance of information we are confronted with. Each exam, imagine reading more than 10 books and scripts and lecture notes. The total reading stacked one onto the next was higher than my height, and I'm surely not short. Then I recommended the books and started to describe how I did it. Say I wanted to remember your house number is 2. I now imagine a swan crashing into your front door. And because the swan looks like number 2, I can remember that your house number is number 2. That is where my fellow students got certainty. They were sure I had bribed a professor. No assistant would buy such rubbish. This is where I learned some very important lessons. No good only reading about these techniques. You must experience them, and best under experienced and guided supervision. So try the following experiment, please. Cross your arms. Which arm is on top? Well, it will be the right or the left. Pick the one that is. What does it feel like? What does it feel like? You would say normal, comfortable, just right, no big deal. Now here's my next question. What does it feel like if the other arm is on top? Well, you don't really know, do you? Not until you do it. Now do cross your arms so that the other arm is on top if you haven't done so already. How does it feel now with the other arm on top? You may say strange, awkward, not normal, not your preferred way, and you would like to go back into the previous position. But only now can you really describe the feeling, only after doing it. That we learn from experiencing things, and only then can we really truly form our own opinion. Well, after completing my studies, I moved on to a successful career in finance. But I did spend my weekends and holidays sharing my experience with people curious to find out how I was able to make this turnaround. And a few years later, sure enough, I set up my own company because sharing this knowledge is what I am passionate about. And I have been able to share this with more than tens of thousands of people, high school students, university managers and executives, bankers, journalists, business executives, people from higher education, non-profit organizations, even with children with alleged learning difficulties. But not everybody has a possibility to attend my face-to-face training or to be in my inner circle. Now with technology, I have the privilege of being able to reach out to many more people so that many more of you can avoid the pain I went through and nurture the success that comes with applying these methods. I thank you for being part of this effort. And if you're interested to learn more about experiential education, join the Mind Management program. You will learn how to use your brain. You will learn how to have fun learning, to structure information, to have it in an orderly manner, to be able to recall it. You will understand if you need to have this information in your head what are going to be that you must apply. What can you do now? Firstly, like the podcast. You can then move to my next podcast where I will be introducing you to the first parts of mind management. We will do a first test on your capability to memorize and recall. Then I will share with you the first technique I ever learned. It is one of the two very fundamental ways of managing information in your mind. It allows you to memorize 10 items in the right order, recall it in the right order, and remember the exact number of the item. We will then test again and see how you have improved, and we'll be using some content care checklist. If you want to get the free course material that comes with a podcast, you can register here. And if you want to also sign up for a live webinar, you will be able to do so too. Thank you for listening up to now. I hope you've gained some curiosity, and I'm looking forward to sharing my technique with you in the next podcast.